Trump's economy is falling off a cliff. When Biden left him,
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, as usual. As usual, we're going to have a great show for you today. How's everybody doing? I trust that everybody is doing just fine, and we are doing just fine. We're a bit late because I have so much that I was putting together. But you know what? This morning I gave what I think I consider an important soliloquy on the morning show. So I cleaned it up, shortened it, and the whole works with the expectation that I would show it today. And I'm about to get it all good and ready. So bear with me. I haven't even gotten the Substack stuff up yet, but I'm about to do that as we speak. And I think I got the Substack stuff up. If I can, para ver, sí, lo tengo perfectamente ahora. All right, so I lose the first few dozen of the Substacks, but that's okay. I know you guys still are gonna be with the thing. Let me get a couple of other things here going. Egberto, you got to get it going. You got to get it going because we got to really get into the. Oh, come on, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. All right, and we are going to get started now. Anyway, how are my peeps doing today? Welcome aboard, AVQ from uh, Brooklyn, New York. Welcome aboard, Patrick Mag. Actually, sorry, Patrick Magner was the first one in the house. Good afternoon, Patrick from Houston, Texas. Paul Fleming was the second one in the house from Powder Springs, Georgia. The third one in the house was AVQ from Brooklyn, New York. How you doing, AVQ? Love you, my brother. We also have in the house Mox Maniac. No, Moz Maniac. He says, hey. Well, Moz, hey. All right, let's see what else we got here. What else we got here? Eric Hayes in the house. Bruce Pollard said, it was a great show. I was doing a second pass. It's worth it. I'm going to do it again, my brother. Thank you. Man, if Bruce Pollard tells me it was a good show, I love Bruce, though. Bruce is my brother. Hey, Bruce, I still have to get to your house, man. I tomorrow I have to go pick up some stuff for Linda tomorrow in town. On my way out, I think I'm gonna stop by if you're home. Let's see what else we got here. We have in the house, Marge KJ. Marge, no Substack. The Substack is on, Marge. But I love that you're here in the other chat as well on YouTube. But Substack is on. I can see it right now. I think I'm seeing it. That's Substack. Who else is in the house? In the house, in the house. Patricia, Ruth, and Marilyn Kerr. I just saw them pop up in Substack, so it is there, Marge K. So if you want to be in the Substack chat, sometimes this other chat gets kind of, when our others get in here, But what can I say? All right, all right. The title of the show today. What is the title of the show today? Got to go ahead and pull up my stuff here. Where is it? Come on, Egberto. Guys, I am combobulated right now because there's a lot that I was doing before the show. So forgive my conbobulation. The show today, I think its title was Christie exposes Trump RFK Jr. scandal, Tapper flops, and capitalism hidden trap. Where I'm going to start with the funnies. And I call the funnies how Christie dealt with with the employment situation, I think it was. So let's start there. That's the first video I'm going to do. But let me make sure that I don't have anything to talk about from Radnin, because Radnin always do some research in the beginning, and I don't want to leave that undone. All right, Radnin has The Guardian: release of missing minute of Epstein video contradicts Bondi claim. Cameras stop recording. Video taken outside Epstein's cell on night he died is part of new material released by House Oversight Committee. The full video show Epstein going to take a phone call at around 7 p.m. and the missing minute shows guards in the far background moving about, but nothing next to Epstein prison cell in the foreground. It should be noted that the video is lower quality than previously released. It just shows you these guys just lie for the sake of lying. Korean local news networks reports about the Hyundai incident. They're withdrawing all personnel for those projects, halting these investments and operation for now 22 factory projects involved. Great. We've translated to English for your easy reference. Please follow if you like our work. Thank you very much for providing that, Paul Fleming. I'll look at it afterwards. Let's see what else we got here. Anything else? I'll read the rest of it, but let's go ahead and do the video. Welcome, IBS Spectre, Margaret Ryan, Dan Steiner, Dave McBride, Sharon Cushion, Marge KJ, Dira R. Williams. Thank you all for being here. Let's get to Governor Christie's analysis of our economy, which is actually much better than Democrats themselves have been doing. And I don't like Christie, but when people do the right thing, we have to give them their kudos. Here it is. The Trump economy is falling off a cliff. When Biden left him with a robust job market, inflation falling, and things getting better. Look, for progressives, it couldn't. While what Biden did was great, we need a lot more. We need a lot more programs that actually satisfy the working class, the middle class, the poor. But look, comparatively speaking, it was doing light years above what Donald Trump's economy is doing. And the funny thing about it is, all Donald Trump had to do is come in and coast, because the legwork was already done. We got the bills passed for the chip sector. We got the bills passed with the Inflation Reduction Act. A lot of these bills, a lot of the things within these bills would not come to pass until after the first 4 years of the Biden administration. And to put it bluntly, with a ridiculous tax cut that made no sense, that took money out of the pockets of the average American citizen, with tariffs that took the money out of the middle class and the working class, for his bills that is ultimately killing healthcare for the American people and raising their prices. He came in and single-handedly destroyed the economy. You know, there is so much to really point out materially that make the average MAGA and everybody understand that this economic failure is a direct responsibility of Donald Trump, caused by Donald Trump's policies. But what I found interesting today is that the best person discussing the failure of the Trump administration weren't Democrats. I heard Democrats on one of the shows simply let it slide. But Christie, no Democrat, nobody that we like, a conservative of no real good values, he made the case against Trump so forcefully, one had to admire. Check this out and we'll take it on the other side.
The American people are tiring of this message because they're given a 42% job approval on the economy, 38% approval on inflation. You've had an average of 27,000 jobs a month for the last 4 months. A year ago, it was 167,000 jobs a month for those 4 months. And most of that spending is coming from the social safety net and healthcare deficit spending that he's presiding over, which he promised he wouldn't do. It's all tariffs, George. The reason why jobs are going down in manufacturing and mining and all over is tariffs. And let's be clear, they're taxes. They're taxes on the American people. Taxes slow down growth. The thing Donald Trump succeeded when Reince was running the White House on was the economy grew. the economy is not growing here. And that's why he's going after the Fed, because he needs someone to blame. Biden's gone. The Democratic Congress is gone. He needs someone to blame. So now it's the Fed. But that's what he should be keeping his eye on the ball on, not fighting with J.B. Pritzker in Chicago.
Distraction?
Well, first of all, if you look at the the world of this economy, it's very positive. I mean, right now, Donald Trump, under his leadership, added over 500,000 jobs in this country, none of which went to illegal immigrants. All of it went to United States citizens. GDP is at 3.3%, which is strong. Inflation is down to 2%. This week, I had lunch with Scott Bessent and two of the most respected investment bankers in New York. And you know what they said? They weren't partisan guys. They're not Republicans or just investment bankers in New York. They said CapEx is about as high as it's ever been, which means capital investments that companies are putting into the economy, which means they see a good future. Labor participation is jumping, which means people are positive. The big beautiful bill is going to kick in. I think the Fed is going to reduce rates by 1/2 or 3/4 of a point coming up. I think that one thing for sure, in my experience in the Trump White House and even today with President Trump, there's one thing that he's not going to miss on is in an economy that runs like a rocket ship. I think this is just the beginning. It's one report. And I think in the future, things are going to get a lot better.
4 reports.
No,
it's 4 reports.
Listen to me.
He's averaging 20,
AI investment alone.
He's averaging 27,000 jobs a month over the last 4 months. And it's not growing. The economy is not growing.
And the GDP is at 3.3%.
People are not
Gas
hiring.
is at its lowest rate that it's been in 5 years.
Your investment banker friends can tell you whatever you want. But here's the thing. You know how they vote? Investment bankers aren't the people who decide the economy in this country. It's people who hire other people for jobs. And they're saying, with the uncertainty on tariffs and the uncertainty on the economy, we are not investing. It's not the BS announcements that he makes at the White House when Mark Zuckerberg says, we're going to invest $600 billion, and then turns to Trump on an open mic and says, was that the right number to use?
Listen to me. AI alone is investing $400 billion in chips, data centers, services. They wouldn't be doing that if they thought the economy was going to contract.
They're doing it for the world, not just for the country.
Listen, I know you're celebrating this report because it gives you all.
I'm not celebrating.
Why would we celebrate?
But the fact of the matter is,
losing their job.
So yes, he did the right thing in the way he pushed back at Reince Priebus, the way he pushed back and pointed out, no, all the crap you're talking about doesn't make any sense. I don't care how many investment bankers you spoke to. I don't care what you say about it's good for them. Of course, when it's great for investment bankers, it means that they're pilfering more so from the poor and the middle class. So if an investment banker tells you, oh, things are great, because we know they don't take risk and they build very little, we know that means it's coming out of the height of the working class. But here's the thing. It is so ironic to watch Reince Priebus try to make it look like, oh, don't look at the higher prices now. Don't look at the actual numbers. Look, the GDP is growing up. Look at the numbers. The employment rate. Oh, we can't speak about that because the employment rate is going up also. Oh, we can't speak about inflation because the inflation rate is going up also. Diametrically opposed to what happened under Biden. Yet Kamala Harris lost and Donald Trump purportedly won. America, wake up. We told America this was the future. We told them that this bastion of ineptitude would do this. Donald Trump is but a bastion of ineptitude. He showed it the way he handled the COVID epidemic, because again, the COVID epidemic would not have been an epidemic if we had a leader in the United States that went ahead and worked around the world to snap it as it begun. But ineptitude breeds death. Ineptitude breeds financial ruin. But the one place he's not inept in is ripping everybody off.
All of our countries.
Absolutely so. Absolutely so. Where he's not inept in ripping people off. Look, I don't normally answer Mike Cisak in our chat because he gets some very silly numbers from I don't know what who informs him, but he's gullible in that they lied a lot. But I want to correct this. He claimed that Trump's is at the highest level of his approval rating. False. It's at MSNBC has it at somewhere around 41%, 42%, and other places have him in the 30s. He's in terrible shape, and he only has an 8% support from independents. His highest support come like 90 something support from MAGA, but everything else is ridiculously low. The other thing is when we talk about poverty rates, I want to show you something. If you take a look and want to understand poverty rates, and let me put this on the screen because I wanted to get those numbers. I would like to be fact based. When Biden came in, poverty was at 20 for children. Poverty was at 20. It was given to him at 16%. This is just childhood poverty, 16%. When we passed the bills under the Biden administration, we dropped that, showing that government can make a difference in poverty, dropped it all the way to 15.3%, down 22 to 15%. And guess what happened? Republicans took back the Congress. It jumped back up immediately to 15.3 and kept on rising because of all the cuts that were made that couldn't occur after 2022. So let's get real. Let's get real. These guys are sociopaths. Let's remember that. Sociopaths. All right, going back into our stuff here. I want you to listen to another one from Christie. This one has to do with Kennedy, right? Kennedy, this nutcase. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side. Let me make sure and get it out there. Here we go. We all know who Christie is. Yes, he's a conservative Republican, and he suffers from all the metastasized diseases that the Republican Party suffers from. But let me tell you something. When I listened to Christie on This Week Today, I said to myself, I sure wish I had, or Democrats had, someone that promotes that kind of passion and resolve in the way that they are defending the party, defending or fighting against Donald Trump. I want you to listen to how he goes ahead and pretty much destroys Robert F. Kennedy for his ineptitude. Then we'll take it on the other side.
We should dismiss any person on the face of the earth that has a question about.
If they're scientists, we should listen to the science.
But some scientists say something different, Don.
Right,
You're not a scientist.
Right, let me just ask you this, because I'm very confused.
But I do know a little bit about health.
Well, very confused by you this morning. So I want to know, you think Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is the best man to be leading public health? No. Answer the question.
It's not my decision.
No. You're supporting his decision. You're supporting his decision.
I support his decision.
You just called him a humble, qualified man. So you think he's the best person to lead public health in this country?
I think he's the best person.
He's a joke.
And I think that the President of the United States has the mandate that you don't.
Yeah, well,
he made the choice.
That is not a last word right now. People get sick because of Robert F. Kennedy.
Christie nails it. The guy is foolish. The guy is dumb. Robert F. Kennedy is unqualified for the position and should never have been there. And while many would put the blame on RFK for what he's doing to America, it ultimately ends with Donald Trump. Donald Trump, by putting RFK in office, has put the American population medically at risk. Diseases will be out. Pandemics are nearer a possibility. What he has done is, with Robert F. Kennedy, endangered the country medically, and of course with Hexeth, and made the country unsafe militarily and elsewhere. I mean, he is a complete screw up, and eventually every American is going to see that. Absolutely every American is going to see that. Now, Jake Tapper, we have the other Neanderthal out of Florida, what should I call him, who is putting all people allergic to vaccines at risk because he's getting rid of herd immunity. And what upset me the most was how lousy a job that Jake Tapper did in interviewing this guy. So, as usual, what we did is we went ahead and made some commentary. I even made some better commentary that I'm going to try to isolate in the show that I did last night for our PDR posse. But this one is this short bit is good enough. Every time I watch the Sunday morning news, every Sunday, I know I'm going to be trying to pull hairs out that I don't have. Today, Jake Tapper had the Surgeon General from Florida, Joseph Ladapo, on. And as you know, the Surgeon General from Florida decided to not make vaccinations a mandate anymore. So laissez-faire reigns. And the excuses that he gives, well, I tell you what, let's listen to the excuse that he gave Jake Tapper as to why it was the right thing he believed to do. Check it out. We'll take it on the other side.
It's really about ethics. I mean, is it appropriate for a government or any other entity to dictate to you what you should put in your body? No, it's absolutely not appropriate. You have sovereignty over your body. I mean, that's where it starts. And you should be able to decide what you put in your body. And if you can't decide what you put in your body, I mean, what do you actually, what can you decide? So it really is an issue that is in that domain.
Now, let's be clear. That statement that he made was asinine. First of all, from a public policy standpoint, the reason why in public places where we're going to have an aggregation of children, of people in one confined space, the reason why you have vaccinations are twofold. One, so that these people don't get the sickness or the disease, or they don't get a fatal form of the disease. But also, we want community immunity. We want herd immunity, so that for people who simply cannot take vaccines, they can be in an environment that is fairly safe, even as the very few don't have to take that vaccine. So there's a public policy reason. What Ladapo is saying is that, look, individualism, rugged individualism is what's important. If you want your kid to have a vaccine, fine. If I don't, fine. And the government should have no role in saying you must have it. But the government has a role in educating your children. So in effect, he's saying the government has a role in potentially getting your children sick when they go into confined public spaces. But there are other things, because he said it's not the government right to tell people what to put into their bodies. Jake Tapper should have immediately said, why then does Republican want to control marijuana? It doesn't affect anybody but the person who's taking it. Shouldn't that person have the choice if they want to use marijuana themselves? Why didn't he say, why, if that person want to ingest cocaine, can't they, as long as they're not impacting the life of others? It's their body. They should have control over their bodies. Why can't women have mifepristone for controlling their own bodies as well? Why? There were so many places where Tapper should have expanded the discussion. He did a great thing when he said, did you make studies to see what the impact of your ruling would be? And he did ask that question. And what Ladapo did was diffuse it. And Jake Tapper again didn't come back. He should have said, well, since you didn't, the study would have said that infections would have increased, and you are saying it is okay for infections to increase for personal responsibility, for people's own choices, but the public debate at that point should become, well, hospitals need to know that the study shows that they will have a larger influx of people come into that hospitals, which will increase all the costs of the hospital, which would increase all the costs of everybody's insurance, and also increase the cost to the government, which then reflects itself back as higher taxes. something that Republicans always rail against. There were so many places to engineer the narrative into the appropriate form that Jake Tapper failed. So by missing those opportunities, what he did was allow plausibility and a defense for what that inept Surgeon General did. And this is what we find throughout mainstream media, a poor, a lousy pushback when these horrendous people who know nothing about policies or do not create policies commensurate with reality, when they do that, they allow plausibility and they allow certain Americans to look at it and say, okay, I guess it's 5 of one, 6 of one, and half dozen of another. We have to have better mainstream media, better questioning. But again, like I've always said, that's what we're here for. That's why we have independent media, folks, because again, we can take these guys, get the big shots to come on and lie to you. And we can correct the lies. We can correct the misinformation. We can correct the skewing of the information, which is what we did here. But anyway, like I said, I cleaned up this morning's soliloquy, brought it down, cut out by taking a whole lot of stuff out. I think I got it right, but I didn't get a chance to test it before because the time crept up on me. Here is a soliloquy that I think is real important from this morning. Billionaires inherently are psychopaths, okay? I want people to really understand that. I don't think anybody actually knows what $1 billion really looks like, feels like. I don't think you know that. But it is something that you as an individual, you as a family would have a very hard time spending. There was a movie long time ago. These kinds of movies left indelible impressions on me, right? The guy, he inherited a whole bunch of money, but to inherit an even larger amount of money, he had to spend all the money he inherited. Something like that is the gist of the story. And no matter what he did, he couldn't get it spent because even some of the money he was spending was also generating more money. And that's what happens in this type of economy, right? If you are the owner of capital, if you have money, it's hard for you to fail. It's hard for that money not to turn into more money because what we do in this country is the worship of capital, not the worship of work. They always tell people, oh, go get a job, all that good stuff. And people, all of us work, right? But it's not that makes you successfully wealthy. It is those who are fortunate to be invited into the accumulation of wealth, of capital. And it is so hard for the average person to see that if they saw that, they wouldn't be on this bandwagon where we have so many people trying to protect those few. A lot of times because they think at some point in life, they're going to be a member of that few, and they don't want to have the burdens of, if that's what you can call it, the burdens of having to pay taxes and so they are figuring, well, what the heck, let me protect them because someday I may be them. But let me tell you a little story. In the aggregate, anybody that's listening to me will never, ever be them. Infinitesimal moment will be if you're invited. If you're invited into the club, and that's exactly what I mean. If you're invited to the club, I'll tell you a little story. Go to any church and look at that choir in that church. And on any given Sunday, you may have a great singer from the choir be the star. They are the ones singing. And then turn on pop radio and turn on rock radio and turn on country radio. Turn on any one of these and listen to some of those voices. And then remember the voice you heard in church. Or remember the voice you heard on YouTube or TikTok. A lot of folks get on TikTok and YouTube and all these different platforms and they perform. And you notice that, my God, that person should have a record contract. That person should be XYZ, but they're not. Beyonce is worth maybe close to $1 billion, if not more. But in In many churches, I have heard singers that sound much better than Beyonce. And based on today's, what we consider beauty today, okay, and beauty is not an objective thing. Beauty is a subjective thing. What we define as beauty is not really something that the eyes just take as beauty. We were trained from our birth to define what beauty was. But in that, even under that sense, in just one church, I will see women under our definition of beautiful, much more beautiful than Beyonce, much more talented than Beyonce, but they weren't invited into the club. I remember when the internet started to make a play, websites were taken off and people being able to do different things on the internet was taken off. I brought a whole bunch of kids into my home. I went ahead and I set up a network of several computers. And I wanted to show folks, these kids, that, and these were mostly kids of color, mostly Latino and Black kids. And I wanted to show that there was this instrument coming, that no longer would they have to feel, because of course, they are invited much less so into the club. So I wanted to show them that there is a tool, a tool coming on hand, that if you build your network here, if you build your life here, that you would only be judged by what you produce. You will only be judged based on what you can do. There will be no excuses anymore to say, I couldn't achieve because of who I was or who I am. And I lined those computers up and we started learning about building sites and building mechanisms, all that kind of stuff we started to talk about. And I was happy. I'm like, yeah, we got this stuff here now. And, because a couple of years ago, I wrote this book called Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. And the reason I wrote it was I wanted to show folks the amount of stuff that I had to go through, from university to college to corporate America to business as a Black Latino Caribbean man, because it's not the same. And for me, it wasn't about complaining. It was about overcoming above and beyond the headwinds. And I wanted all these other kids to know that. And yes, right now I just centralize on, let's say, Black and Latino kids. But this also means from a poor white brother in Appalachia who people look down at. I've told you guys a story of a good friend of ours, white woman, coming into my house one time and talking about white trash and porter. And in my shock, I'm like, wow, you mean even, yeah, I know in the community of color, there's colorization that creates issues. But damn, I didn't quite realize that you had that in your community at large as well. I did know that, but you know what I'm saying. It was never instantiated in my presence. And as she's talking about it to my wife, and she started referring to these folks, I just got the hell out of the room, and she could visibly see that I was upset when she said that. And I, walked upstairs and, Egberto, what's wrong? Why? I mean, I didn't mean it like that. And I just simply said, if that's how you talk, it really got to me, because you could really see that. But again, the internet was there to say none of that was going to matter anyway. But in my ineptitude, in my naivete, I didn't realize the power of capitalism to encroach everything, because I saw the internet as that thing that was wide open and that anybody could get on. And even 15 years ago, I think it was, I wrote a paper for Common Dreams called Internet Neutrality. And when I wrote the paper on internet neutrality, the idea was I actually saw when the industry through government was trying to capture the internet. How were they going to do that? Yeah, the internet was a free for all, but they were going to start throttling the internet. They were going to start making the internet the best for those who can afford it, right? And I saw it coming then, and I'm like, oh my God, it was supposed to be the place where we were free to do as we please. Now it was going to start that they were going to control the internet. But this control wasn't going to be how corporate America controlled its people, racializing them. This was going to be economizing them. And it was going to be that again of capital. And I'm like, oh, God, so this is happening. So with our organization Move to Amend, I started writing these papers, and we wrote this paper called Net Neutrality. You bet it's necessary, something like that. You can look it up at Common Dreams. Just look under my name and you'll find it on Common Dreams, the piece I wrote on net neutrality. And it was like, they're starting to capture it. And after throttling, the search engine started to discriminate. And after the search engine started to discriminate, you started to pay for access for the search engine to find you. And it was, oh God, capitalism knows how to encroach on every aspect to take away people's freedoms. And it's done in a subtle way. And for those who are so indoctrinated into thinking this is the only way life can be, no, they took away another avenue. The people who controlled the internet started to do it. So all those stars on the internet, those singers that were, Justin Bieber was an internet star that got chosen. But there were a lot of others that didn't. Look at your TikTok. Look at your Instagram. They all throttled. Politics done right. When I talk about certain subjects, I know I will be throttled. I know access by other people will be limited. To take our freedoms, our country back, these are things that you should know. These are things that you must know. These are things that should stop you from falling for the crap that comes in from more plutocracy. Because when I speak about antiseptic slavery that upsets many people, when I speak about capitalism is operating as designed, and they try to say, oh, what? Don't speak like that because that's who we are. When Nancy Pelosi talked, we're a capitalist country. Like she believes that means something positive. When you see that, when you understand what's going on, when you leave your mind open to not be controlled by this overbearing force that tells you can't be all that you want to be, and that chooses. It's not a market. It's not a free market. I believe in free enterprise. I believe in actual free enterprise where your talent says what you can actually achieve. But I can tell you on a personal note, if I wasn't reared by some strong as hell Panamanian parents, a lot of the tribulations that come through, and this tribulation isn't just a tribulation of color, a tribulation of pigmentation, ethnicity. It's also a tribulation of capital, a tribulation of class. And when we realize we are all in the same boat, not this false separation in humanity that these guys push on you. When we realize we're in the same boat with those immigrants, we're in the same boat with our white brothers and sisters in Appalachia. We're in the same boat with our white brothers and sisters in the ghettos and barrios and or folks everywhere else. When we realize that, and that we're just pawns in a game, then we will start having the control of the country that we actually want. But you have to get there first by educating yourself. All of us do, and learning. And that's why the plutocracy is so intent on keeping you dumb. That's why they want to have nothing with critical thinking. That's why they don't want you to know the formative years of this country. That's why they don't want you to, that's why they want to sanitize everything. It's not because they feel guilty about what was done in the past. They don't feel guilty about what was done in the past. Their problem is that they know you are a good person. Everyone listening to me, they know that you have a heart. They know that you are a loving person. They know that even our MAGA brothers and sisters, they are not bad people. They're indoctrinated and taught to be like that for a purpose. For a purpose. That purpose is that trillion. How the hell can anybody accumulate $1 trillion who knows very little. There's nothing smart about Elon Musk. The guy that taught me the most about software engineering was an almost high school dropout that would run rings around Elon Musk. And I don't know, I haven't heard from you in 20 something years or so. This guy named Leroy Gay. I've never forgot that name. That's the one person in all my corporate American life, only lasted 5 years after I went on my own. That is the one person lived in Atascocita, Texas, right here around the corner. I learned more software engineering from this dude than anybody else. And I guarantee you, he is a much better, well, Musk isn't even an engineer, brothers and sisters. He's not even that. That's how they call him. Again, that's money can buy you any title, right? But anyhow, so let's remember this. We're all in this game together. We're all programmed. We're all antiseptic slaves. And when you accept what the system has done to you, then you can climb out of that tub. You can climb out of that bucket. You can climb up, but you have to first acknowledge a reality. And after that, we can move on.
All of our countries.
And after that, we can move on. So I hope you get the whole picture of what I'm trying to say there. It is imperative. You know, when I start my program in the morning, I always start it and I always bring in the internet, because the internet is the formidable communication space. And believe it or not, it is much more powerful, much more important than many people would give it. It is the dominant source. I mean, if you're doing AI, whatever you are doing, the internet dominates in what occurs in this country right now. So it's something we have to watch. And when you see how capitalism has encroached it, you can understand why. When they try to throttle it, when they try to use AI to make sure that all the people, look, on some programs, when I talk about, the AI within these systems will ensure that you don't get it all. It ensures it. Egberto, KR John wants to know about your engineering background. Oh, man. That's a long one. I'm an engineer out of the University of Texas, so UT make good engineers, man. UT is a great school. Mechanical engineer to be exact, but I did all software engineering. Actually wrote a program that controlled a ship in the middle of the ocean based on waves and all that good stuff. That was my thesis, but design methodology project. So yeah, did a whole lot of stuff. But I did all kinds of different engineering. Because I get bored quick and move on to the next field all of the time. So that's it. What is it? KR Jung. That's what I do. Anyway, let's see. Welcome aboard, Gretchen, Jackie, and Hempelman. Rev Carlton. How you doing, Rev? Rev says, I grew up poor in tiny town in Canada. I qualify as white trash despite my education. Let me tell you something. When she said that in the house, it was like a lightning strike. And I had to get the hell out of Dodge real quick, Rev Carlton. I had to get the hell out of Dodge and ran upstairs because I would have said the wrong thing. And what I learned early on is sometimes it's best to just leave the conversation before you get into something and say something that changes quite a bit much after. So I left the conversation. But let me just say this. Even whatever you want to call yourself in Canada, Rev Carlton, the fact that after that farmer, I don't remember the name of the guy who started your Medicare system. After that, it didn't even matter if the good thing about Canada, right? And you live it. You can be poor, but there's one good thing you have is healthcare. I mean, the funny thing about it, what a lot of Americans don't understand. If we went to true universal healthcare, we spend so much more money per capita. Tommy Douglas, you're right. We spend so much money per capita more than Canada or all these other countries. Our healthcare system would be phenomenal. No wait times. We'd be able to educate more doctors, etc. Because right now, Carlton, let me tell you this stuff. They lied to Americans. They said, "Oh, you don't want to be like Canada. You have a lot of wait times." My wife needed to see her kidney doctor. had to wait a month. And she has a good plan from the school district. My daughter, who had 2 strokes, it wasn't an emergency, but she had to see a specialist. Took her 6 weeks. And they talk about wait times in Canada? Come on, man. This is just capitalism gone awry. Canada is a very regulated capitalist country, although you have a right wing in Canada that is starting to grow up that you guys need to take care of, Reverend Carlton. You guys need to nip that right wing buster in the butt. They tried it with the truckers in Canada, etc. You guys need to nip it in the butt. There are other countries in Europe as well that they are flirting. In fact, the national health system in Great Britain is destroying itself by bringing in different using private companies to come and do certain things. Privatization in public health, privatization in energy, privatization in transportation is the biggest transfer of wealth and make things more expensive for the working and middle class and make things much more difficult for society at large. But it enriches quite a bit because everybody got to use energy, everybody got to use healthcare, everybody got to use these different aspects. We have to educate ourselves. And Carlton, let me tell you, for your people in Canada, I have, first of all, let me just say I'm proud with your leadership in Canada and how they're dealing with Donald Trump. Even your conservative leadership in Canada has Donald Trump shaken in the boot. I'm proud of you guys. A little country, 50 million people or so, I believe, right? And you are giving this country of 330 million people with 26% of the GDP of the world, or rather 26% of the world economic output. I'm so proud of you guys. You know, I could give the whole country a hug and kiss it. Anyway, folks, I don't have any more videos. I don't have any more stuff. So if anybody want to give me a call now, give me a call at 281-823-7747. Again, that is 281-823-7747. Lo tengo bien ahora? Yes, I got it. I got it. Mark Carney is the best progressive conservative prime minister we have ever had. It's amazing, isn't it? Because people, he would qualify as a left-wing liberal over here, even though in Canada he's a pretty conservative, right? But my God, he would qualify as a lefty out here. I love the guy. He's a conservative guy in Canada. Well, progressive party, but conservative guy in Canada. But wow. All right, folks, give me a call, 281-823-7747. Or let's see if there's any question. There we go. Brother Ray Brackens. How you doing, sir?
You know, Egberto, if I ever followed my dream of being a professional wrestler, I need you to be my announcer.
All right. Okay, my brother. I know I like to mess around with, because in Spanish we roll the R's. I do it on purpose in English. I like to just kind of mess around with your names.
No, I love it. It's a talent that I could never really acquire, consistently. So, I appreciate your native tongue always, taking the exoticness of my name and really bringing it out. So we just funning around.
Hey, look, let me tell you, it is just to keep, look, political shows that we have an audience is great, right? But I don't have the name recognition of those big guys that are out there that when they come up, they get 1 million people watching at one time, right? I'm happy with a couple hundred, right? I'm happy if after I do the podcast, I get 20,000 or so. I'm happy. That's my little niche. But here's the deal, brother. We can all grow it together. So we do a little bit of entertaining. Anyway, what's up?
Well, with that being said, I just shared your show with a couple of friends I have. So hopefully they're listening to me and you having fun here, and that'll bring them in, because you're right. This political stuff, it does get a little serious. I know it enrages me most of the time when I'm watching it, and I'm like, wait till Egberto say call in. Wait till he say call in. I got my finger on it. I had the finger on the button, with speed dial. I was like, I'm ready, because I didn't want to interrupt your flow. Sometimes I get a little anxious, and I just want to talk to you, but you had a lot to say, and I wanted to just come into the space when it was allowed, and
Well,
with that
let me.
being
I want
said,
everybody to know. I want everybody to know this space is y'all's, man. If you listen, well, you are at the morning programs as well, and people disrupt my show every day. I come prepared for a hell. I come prepared for a 2 hour show to put in 1 hour, and if I get 15% of my show done, I'm happy. But let me tell you one thing. That is the thing about what we do, Ray. This is community radio. This is public radio, right? This is radio that interactive radio. I want people to feel like they can call in and say whatever the hell they want to say. Dan, it doesn't have to agree with me. But there's one other important thing. The show is live. But the most important part of politics done right isn't live. I write 4 to 5 articles a day. I put out video and snippets all through the day. Most of what we do don't occur on the live program. It occurs where it can stay alive forever. So I mean, that's why because we have all these other platforms to distribute this stuff on. I'm like, this is your show. If you want to call in and disrupt my show, call in and disrupt my show. Now, sometimes you're gonna get some of the audience pissed off, and they'll tell you to shut up, like they do in the mornings. I'll get notes like, tell him to get off. I want to hear what you're talking about today. But again, honestly, that's what it's all about, a live show that is interactive, unlike most other shows. Anyway, what else is that, brother?
Yeah, well, I wanted to shout out brother Christie. I mean, whether I agree with his stances on a lot of political things, as a man, I respect him, because when he needed help from Obama, he stood right next to Obama and he said, "Hey, I need your help." And you know what? That thing he did on the ABC morning show, that was all but right. He needed to set his people straight. See, it sounds different coming from our side. We always sound like we moaning and complaining and
right,
bitching, like, oh, the Democrats, they can never see the positivity in anything when we're in power. That's why they keep on losing, yada yada yada. But here's a man who stood, side by side with this cretin, this charlatan we call, El Presidente, and basically he's calling out the facts. The facts are the facts, and you can't dispute that.
Right. I think Krista was so effective yesterday, and on 2 different platforms, right? And there are about 3 more sections that I could have cut out of it, but I said enough of Christie because my audience will probably get tired of Christie. But the 2 that I chose, I think, were 2 of the best ones that he did there, because if you take a look, he was combating another Republican. He was actually, and Reince Priebus is a very, very effective communicator, and he is good at what he does. And look, I give kudos to people that deserve kudos. Republicans are much better messengers than Democrats, and they have to be. If you're going to sell crap to people, you have to be good at it. And Democrats, the progressives, are selling things that people want, and they're lousy at it. Republicans are selling things people don't want that harms them, and they're good at selling. The results don't say the same, and that is what I think. I would, put it bluntly, my brother, I try to learn that from Republicans. They have there's a guy that does all the narratives for Republicans. I don't remember his name right now. I know Rudnin is going to put it on the screen in a minute. He's like the mouthpiece for Republicans.
If I could interject, Egberto, this exact scenario, it reminds me, like, Republicans are basically built to try to sell the idea of a bacon factory to a pig farm. not the farmer, but the pig.
Oh my God!
They have to know how. I'm glad I'm getting a laugh. Trust me, Egberto, your laugh is so hearty. and it brings joy to my spirit.
Let me tell you, that was a good, but I mean, you got to admit it, that's a good one. Selling a bacon factory to a pig. Come on, man. How much more funny could you get than that? Hey guys,
That's the
audience,
way my mind thinks.
wasn't that a good one, audience? You got to give him that. That was a really good one. Anyway, what else is up?
Well,
Anything else you got to say before?
Well, I retort back to the fact that these people, I don't know how much more we have to suffer as normal people before they see that this is crap that they're being sold,
I
and
think I'm going to tell you something, Ray. I honestly think this one could do it because this one is going to kill a lot of people. This one is genuinely going to kill a lot of people. And yes, COVID killed a lot of Republicans. COVID killed a lot more Republicans than Democrats because a lot of MAGA bought into the crap that Trump was talking about, and they're still buying into it, right? But this one here is different because while you can look at a disease like COVID and say, well, it would have killed them anyway. When your hospital closed and you get an injury on your tractor in the farm, and that hospital is not there anymore, and when you go to school in Timbuktu, Texas, or Timbuktu, Michigan, and that morning breakfast isn't there, and that mother doesn't have either the morning breakfast or the SNAP, that is something they're going to feel. The thing about it is the problem is the following, and I want everybody to hear this because here's maybe they're saving grace to the detriment of Democrats, but we care more about humanity. We're talking about shutting down the government because what's the negotiations that they have to do. I have a hunch Democrats are going to go out there and try to save Americans. They're going to try to put some SNAP back in. They're going to try to put some subsidies for the the healthcare back in. And right now, Republicans have advertising on TV here in Texas that are saying, Cornyn, give back the subsidies. Republican ads, Cornyn, give back the subsidies or you will lose. So they may actually get with this bill that they're putting together to stop the government shutdown, they may actually get bailed out by Democrats. And it's a thing. It's like you want them to feel the pain so that they don't do it again. But Democrats believe in the humanity and may just bail them out before it occurs. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I got to get out of here, my brother. Thank you for calling. All right.
Can I give one closer? Less than 30 seconds.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, we've had Sarah Palin talk about death panels for a minute, and now we have one death panel we have to worry about. It's called the U.S. Supreme Court. Have a great day, everybody.
I agree with you 100%. Anyway, folks, first of all, want to thank all of you that came to the program today. Love you all. I want to ask all of you who have the wherewithal to do so. I am at least 500 and change people away from getting to our 1,000, which gives me that full orange star on Substack. Until I get that, we don't get as much traction as we could. So what I want to ask you is ask your friends, become paid subscribers of our Egberto Off the Run newsletter. The faster we can get there, the better it'll be. Please go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, and subscribe. Become a paid subscriber. It's inexpensive. It's like getting your brother here a cup of coffee. It's worth it. And for that, you get access to all of my books on Substack. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, How to Make America Utopia. You also get the book, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. And you get my story. What is it? What is my story called? Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. It's an uplifting book. I guarantee you, it's an uplifting book that you're going to say with all the crap that you go through, you still come out with a smile and you still believe in people. You still believe in people. people. So please, again, go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter and become a paid subscriber. You won't regret it. And again, you ensure that we can continue doing what we're doing. Anyway, gotta go. My name is Egberto Willies. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. You know how I end this program? I am what? What am I again? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.